Hello, welcome back to the My Community Made YouTube channel. I'm here on our homepage, which if you've watched our other videos on this channel, you can see quite a bit has changed in the last few months. We've redesigned the entire header, the footer, and all these product images as well. So now to get to your vendor dashboard, you just click on this top right button here that says dashboard, and it will take you right to your dashboard. I've gone ahead to the products page because for this video where we're going over sort of basic SEO, how to edit your SEO, I've chosen this product here, the small green ceramic bowl, and I'm going to go through how to edit this entire product to make it a little bit more optimized for SEO. So what SEO is it's search engine optimization. In effect, what we're trying to do is to edit these products options and all the information that we're providing to Google and to the customer in such a way where this product is more likely to show up in their search results than other similar products or other similar web pages. So to get to this point, I've already filled out the basic information like the title, the product type, the price, and the categories. I have pretty much everything that I need in order for this product to sell. And it will start showing up on the My Community Made homepage and start showing up on the My Community Made ads and such, and users would be able to buy it now. But if I wanted myself to be more likely to show up organically in search results when a customer searches for my product, I'm going to need to give Google just a little bit more information as to what I'm selling and what makes my product special. And the way we do that is by using SEO tools. So the SEO tool that we use the most here on My Community Made is a software called RankMath. I'll actually open up their webpage here. And RankMath is just a nice SEO tool that sort of bundles right into our software, and it helps you make sure that you're doing everything you can to show up on Google and show up with organic search results. Now, we've taken care of most of the RankMath integration from the back end. What this tool does is it tells you where you need to make improvements and where you are already doing a good job. So you can see that it's given us this score here of 45 points in our SEO tool, but it's giving us 45 points for the word ceramic bowl. This is probably the point that most vendors get up to, where you've chosen a focus keyword, you have the first 3 check marks, and then from this point on, it's a little confusing as to what to do. So this video will take you to the point where you get doing everything you can to rank for the best focus keyword. So the first step is to make sure that you've actually chosen a focus keyword that you're happy with. Ceramic bowls sounds like a decent keyword because that's what we're selling. What you want to think about, though, is that there are many other companies that are also selling ceramic bowls. For instance, I'm sure Pottery Barn is going to show up as a result here. Etsy, there are plenty of ceramic bowls as well. So to make a product perform better with search results, you have to start thinking about modifiers that you can add onto those keywords. The focus keyword of ceramic bowl is something we would call a short tail keyword. It's only 2 words. It's something very general. It doesn't quite describe the product that we're selling in the best way that it can. Because of that, there's going to be more competition. So when I talk about keyword competition, what I'm referring to is the number of web pages out there that are trying to rank for that same focus keyword. We don't want to compete with all of them. We want to compete with a smaller amount of them. On the flip side, while there might be less traffic for those low difficulty keywords, there's also going to be a higher potential that the person searching for that keyword is actually interested in buying that product. So someone who's typing in the word ceramic bowl and just shopping and scrolling through all the ceramic bowls they see, they might not be as ready to purchase as somebody who types in the word small green ceramic bowl. That person wants exactly what we're selling, and there's a higher likelihood that when they find that product, they'll be more likely to buy it. We call those keywords long tail keywords. So as frustrating as it can be to focus on these long tail keywords and to write content for them, it's a little bit more difficult than the short tail keywords. They really are what you want to focus on when you're building your keyword strategy. Focusing on these short tail keywords makes it incredibly difficult to show up at the top of those search engine result pages, while using these modifiers like descriptive words such as small or green, or other descriptive words of the type of product. For instance, I could add handmade to this title. I could consider using location-based keywords, Massachusetts, Sturbridge. There's all types of different modifiers I could add to this keyword to make it a little bit more competitive than ceramic bowl. To show you that and to provide you some tools so that you know how good your focus keyword that you've selected is, I've got some tools here that I've looked for ahead of time. One of these is called Google Trends. Here I have the keyword ceramic bowls handmade. and you can see how well that's been doing. It gets some interest. You know, in September it was viewed a whopping 44 times, 100 times. So there's not a whole lot of traffic for this keyword over the month of September, but that's actually what I'm looking for. I'm looking for words that get just enough viewership, you know, 10, 15 searches a month. Because if I am the #1 search result for those 10 to 15 searches, then there's a good chance that I will make that sale, and I don't have to worry about other competition like Walmart.com, Amazon.com, ranking for those very low search keywords. So I already have ceramic bowls handmade here. I'm actually going to edit that keyword because ceramic bowls implies I'm selling more than one. I'm only selling one. So we're going to have ceramic bowl handmade, and let's see how that keyword's doing. So I can see that there's actually larger spikes. We're still not seeing more traffic than about 100 searches per month, but as a topic, it's a little bit more successful. I can see that there's not really any related queries. So let's compare that ceramic bowl handmade with that handmade modifier. Let's compare that to the generic term ceramic bowl. So you can see that the competition of ceramic bowl is much higher. The search trend traffic is also much higher for the word ceramic bowl. You have an average interest of 16 compared to an average interest of 8. But if I scroll down here, you can see that the related query that's rising for ceramic bowl is ceramic slow feeder dog bowl. So we're not really going to gain a whole lot of traffic from trying to rank for just the ceramic bowl keyword. And you can also see that some states don't search for ceramic bowl at all. So I want to take a look at this map when I'm thinking about my region. I am probably focusing a lot of my marketing around where I live. So having a keyword that doesn't search well in my local area isn't super helpful for me. I would prefer to use keywords that are searched in Massachusetts or in the New England area, since that's where I'm shipping most of my products. And since that's where most of my social media work and all of my marketing work off of My Community Made will be handled. So based on this, I'm still feeling pretty good about the keyword for ceramic bowl handmade. But we should also compare that to another term. For instance, somebody might call what we're producing a pottery bowl. And if you look at that, you can see pottery bowl has just a little bit more interest than ceramic bowl, and a little bit less interest than, a little bit more interest than ceramic bowl handmade, and a little less interest than ceramic bowl. And you can see that in Massachusetts specifically, about 72% of the search queries use the term pottery bowl rather than ceramic bowl. So if I'm trying to optimize for local sales, I might want to use pottery bowl rather than ceramic bowl to describe my product, because locally that's how my customers are referring to it. One problem with using pottery bowl is that Pottery Barn has the highest search query relatedness to that product. So instead of competing against the dog bowls for ceramic bowl, I'd be competing against Pottery Barn for the pottery bowl. So Google Trends is a great way to see if anybody is searching for a specific type of product. Another way to put it is that Google Trends is great for finding underlying trends. If there is a search query that I have never used that I just want to see if anybody's interested in it, I will open up Google Trends and I will just see if that trend is growing over time or falling over time. And it's also helpful too, when you're looking at Google Trends, you can use this toggle here that says past day. You can change this to the past 90 days or to any larger amount of time, and you can see which ones of these trends are growing. So for instance, if I go with the keyword in blue here, which is ceramic bowl handmade, I believe, you'll see that you can go almost a month with no search traffic, and then it will spike up to 11, and then you'll go another month with no search traffic. I might decide based on the search traffic pattern to go for a word that just has a little bit more traffic, just because I don't quite want to have these long periods of time where nobody is looking up that keyword. So it's important to always change up the window of time that you're looking at for these keywords, because if I was only looking at the past days trends, then I would actually think that ceramic bowl handmade was just as effective of a keyword as ceramic bowl. but they are definitely not when I look at the 90-day average. There's a few other tools that you can use as well to make your keyword search a little bit more, more useful. This site here is actually moz.com. This is free. You can create a free account and you'll be able to get about 10 search queries a month, which is plenty if you think about it. So for instance, I've already done a search query for ceramic bowl handmade because that's the search keyword I'm leaning towards. You can see the difficulty score is 29. So it says a score from 0 to 100. 0 is the easy and 100 is difficult. It estimates how difficult it is for you to rank higher than current competitors. So with a search difficulty of 29, that suggests that even with a mild amount of search traffic, a little bit of marketing, if I'm focusing on the keyword for ceramic bowl handmade, I could expect to beat the competition. But you can also see that the monthly volume for this search keyword is only about 0 to 10. Now, like we said before, it can actually help to have that low monthly volume because even though there's not a whole lot of users searching for it, those users might be more interested in actually making a purchase. They might be less likely to be browsing and have more certainty behind what they're actually looking to buy. It could be easier to make those sales with them. But I could also look at these other keyword suggestions to see if any of these fit. So for instance, I have vintage ceramic bowl handmade value, ceramic bowl handmade near me. Those near me keywords are always going to be useful, but they're a little bit more difficult to rank for. This box here, the SERP analysis, this is telling me who the top 3 ranking search pages for these for my keyword ceramic bowl handmade is. And I can see Etsy is both number 1 and number 3. Now, because my community made is probably a similar search engine strategy as Etsy, I expect that I would actually be able to outcompete this better than if my number 1 competitor or number 2 competitor were Pottery Barn. Pottery Barn is going to be more specialized with their search engine ranking compared to Etsy, who's selling a wide variety of products. So it would actually be more difficult for me to rank against a competitor like Pottery Barn. So for instance, if I change this to ceramic bowl, well, I can see that the top 3 are Target, Amazon, and CB2. I can see that there's much more monthly volume, but the difficulty score is almost 20 points higher than the difficulty score for ceramic bowl handmade. So before I move on to actually editing our SEO, I'm also going to check out how the word green factors into this. So I'm going to say green ceramic bowl, and let's see how well that's doing. So this is interesting. This is actually doing a little bit better as far as monthly volume. Not too much better, but a little bit better than ceramic bowl handmade. But the difficulty is a little bit higher. Let's see who my competitors are. We have Amazon and Etsy. We might be able to win with this keyword as well. So honestly, you would be okay picking either green or picking handmade. I think that the ceramic bowl handmade has more relevancy than green, because I assume that a customer who's searching for a handmade ceramic bowl will be happy to buy it from a site that specializes in selling handmade products. So for this instance, I'm going to use ceramic bowl handmade, but the thought process that I've just laid out here is great for all types of keywords. You really just want to think about how relevant is the keyword I'm selecting to the product I'm selling? Who is my competition for the keyword that I'm selecting? How are they related to me? I like to see Etsy as a top competitor. I don't like to see Pottery Barn. I don't like to see businesses that specialize in selling a similar product that I sell. And I really like a low difficulty score because when I optimize my SEO, the difficulty tells me how long it will take for me to show up on the first page. With a low difficulty, it shouldn't take any time at all. Now, there is some complicated arithmetic that you really need to do to calculate this because the monthly volume also plays a factor. So low difficulty and high volume would be the best. Those are rare to find though. With this 0 to 10 monthly volume, this difficulty score of 29, I'm going to have to wait until at least a portion of those 10 searches a month click on my search result before I'll be able to actually benefit from this low difficulty score. That's where this third number here, organic CTR, comes into effect. This is the click-through rate. So I can see 64% organic click-through rate. These people aren't just searching and then moving on. They are searching and then they are clicking on the search results, which is good for me. That means that they're more likely to click on my product as well. If we look at ceramic bowl, you can see it has a similar CTR. And if we look for green, all of these have a CTR of 64. So for each of those three queries, we're at about equal playing ground. So now that I've chosen my search query, ceramic bowl handmade, what I can do now that I've picked that search query is I can actually click on the first result and I can see that it's just all these handmade bowls that Etsy is selling. So there's not actually any content here for me to compete with. So if I write anything, it will be more relevant than all of these various products. That's great. That's exactly what I'm looking for when I'm trying to pick a good keyword. So now that I've chosen my keyword, I'm going to go to the focus keyword. I'm going to replace ceramic bowl with my more specialized term of ceramic bowl handmade. And I can see my score's gone down. So one thing you want to keep in mind is that RankMath is its own tool. It's not directly integrated with My Community Made in any way. We just provide it as a way to sort of give you guidance on what you need to edit. So score going down just means that I need to make sure I'm following each one of these tips that RankMath is suggesting in order to get my score back up. But I don't want to let it scare me. It's still better to have a better focus keyword and to make decisions based on the relevancy of the searcher rather than to use this number that it's providing me as a direct score. You really hurt yourself with SEO when you take this score too seriously, because at the end of the day, it is a computer. Human beings make different decisions than what the computer is going to suggest. So you really have to keep coming at it from the mind of a marketer. You know, what is somebody going to be typing into their search result page? How likely am I to show up compared to the other results? Right now it's a 4 out of 100, and I can increase my chances of showing up by filling out this content here. So for instance, this checklist is telling me that the focus keyword does not appear in the SEO title. And what that's referring to is this title right here in the search engine result page. My title right now is small green ceramic bowl. So the computer is upset because I've chosen the focus keyword ceramic bowl handmade, and I don't have that in my title for the search engine result page. The second two items on the checklist are actually the same problem. It's telling me that the focus keyword doesn't appear in my SEO meta description. Well, that's this content right here below the search engine result page title, and the focus keyword does not appear in the URL. Well, that's referring to sort of the preview URL in the search engine result page title as well. So if I click edit snippet, I can get green check marks on all three of these items here at once. So I'm just going to click on this blue button here that says edit snippet, and that brings up the Snippet Editor. This is the most important part of editing your SEO. So if you only do this and nothing else, you are still definitely helping yourself out and ranking for your keyword. So the title here is small green ceramic bowl. I actually like that title, but I need to add on handmade in order to rank for my keyword. There's no problem in keeping these extra words here. Small and green just provides a little bit more context. If my searcher on Google types in ceramic bowl handmade, they are still, once they click on my product, helping me rank for ceramic bowl handmade, but I'm giving them a little extra details by telling them that it's small and green. So if this shopper is actually looking for a large green ceramic bowl, I'm helping Google out by not wasting that searcher's time. They'll skip over this link, but that's okay. Providing more data is always better. So I still have small green ceramic bowl handmade. You can see it bolded my focus keyword here. It likes that I've included it. You can see that the title could be longer. I don't see much reason to make it longer, so I'm going to leave it as is. If you haven't edited your title at all, you're going to see the default here. See title, page, site name. This is actually variable code. So this is telling you that if you don't edit your content, it will provide you with the default, which is the title, followed by the page name, followed by a separator, which is this little dash here, followed by the site name. I always recommend that you at least edit down the title to remove the site name. We love My Community Made as a keyword, but it's probably not helpful to selling your product. You probably just would want this to be the title of your product, which you could show by editing this down to %title. In our case, we have a specific keyword we're trying to rank for, so I'm going to instead edit this title to small green ceramic bowl handmade. Now once it's bolded, you know that your focus keyword is showing up in the title as expected. Now the permalink this is going to be confusing because it's actually the opposite of the title. The permalink doesn't really show up as what the user is reading, but Google does pay attention to it. So because the user is not using the permalink to sort of make any decisions about whether or not they want to click on the link, I'm going to remove the modifier data, the small dash green part, and I'm going to make sure the permalink is only our keyword. And that decision just makes it so that the URL is smaller. So we can see the URL is mycommunitymade.com/product/ceramic bowl handmade. I want it to be a smaller length so that it's easier to copy and paste this link onto any type of page that I want to share this content to. Longer URLs just do not perform as well. Because it's not the title, I also don't mind that I have a little bit less data in this. As long as I have that focus keyword, I'm happy. And for the description, we can see we already have a fairly lengthy description, 80 out of 160. This description is what is going to show up in the search engine result page. You can actually see an example of it here. And I mostly like this description, but I'm going to add the word handmade right after small green bowl. And once that's bolded, you can see that RankMath is noticing we have the focus keyword in use. So we have small green ceramic bowl handmade by Massachusetts-based artist, The Science of Living. So I think that is a great description for now. It could be longer, 89 out of 160. At a certain length, this will turn green. That's sort of the optimal length. But you don't want to add more content to your description for no reason. You always want to make sure that you're being helpful to the reader. Google will sort of flag your search engine result if you're trying to use deceptive practices. Other info that you could add to the description that wouldn't be considered deceptive is if you do offer free shipping, you can add that to your description. We've already added the location that the product is being sold in, so that's kind of off limits for us. You don't want to write anything that isn't true. If this, for instance, maybe I want to write in the description this is also dishwasher safe. I could add all types of modifying data to my description that the searcher might be interested in knowing before they click on this product. But like I said before, I'm interested in keeping this description relatively short. If I want to see how this search engine result will show up on mobile, I can click this little button here in the top right, and that will show how it will show in the Google search result page in mobile version. And if I click the desktop, I can see how it will show up on desktop. And you can see what I was talking about with the URL. I can see the full URL on desktop, but on mobile it already gets shortened down to product, and then there's the ellipses here. I like to have my product URL as short as possible because of that reason. I don't like it being cut off. Before you exit out of the preview snippet editor, you want to make sure you edit the social cards. So if you don't edit your social card, you will have the default social image here. You don't want that. You want to make sure it's always set to your product image or to something relevant to your brand. Unlike all the work we're doing to make sure we show up in the Google search page, the social pages are all about sharing. So you want something that's shareable. Having your logo or having your content here makes it so that people are more likely to share this product if they care about your brand or about your business. Keeping the default image here, it just doesn't make it very shareable amongst your own followers. Make sure as well to click this toggle button here on Twitter. You can just copy over the data from the Facebook tab, or you could add separate Twitter content if you wanted. But by clicking this toggle here, you can input a little bit less work. If you don't want to have the large summary card in use, you can also click this drop down here that says card type, and you could choose the smaller summary card. I like using the large image one, but that's entirely up to you. This exit button here will just close out that menu. You can see it saved all of that info automatically, but I am going to scroll down and click Save Product. So there we go, the product's been saved. I have the little green check mark at the top telling me that the product's been saved. We're not going to lose any of our work, which is great. I'm going to scroll down. So you can see we started at 4 out of 100 and we're now up to 48 out of 100, which is great, just by editing that small snippet editor. So if you stopped at this point, that would be fine, but you really do want to edit your content as well. So this part of the integration does need to be improved a little bit. You'll see as I'm making these changes, I'm not necessarily going to get green check marks for each one of these points. You just have to know that you did it correctly and trust that the green check marks are there. Just pretend that they're invisible. So right now, these checklist items are telling me that I need to use the focus keyword at the beginning of my content. The focus keyword should be in the content. The content should be 600 to 2,500 words long. And I can see if I click this drop down here that there's actually additional items that I could work on as well. So let's get started with the content part before we jump into any of these additional items, because we don't want to get overwhelmed here. We're still in the basic SEO tab. So what this is talking about with the content is you can see we have two content fields here. There's the short description and the long description. When we talk about content, we're always talking about the long description field. The short description field is, I guess you could say, invisible. If I look at the actual product, you can see it does show up. It shows up between the social icons and the wish list button. It's right here. Now this short description also shows up on your Facebook ads that you get through My Community Made automatically. So I do use these when I'm creating the ads. They're created automatically. They pull the short description rather than the long description because it's hoped for that you've sort of optimized your short description to describe the product in as few words as possible so that we don't have to cut out too much data. Your long description though is what RankMath is talking about. This is the description that has a lot of the schema attached to it as to what the product you're selling is. This is what we're showing Google when we're trying to sort of tell Google more about your product. So while you can edit both the short description and the long description, when it says it wants your content to be 600 to 2,500 words long, it is referring to the long description field. We do not want your short description to be 600 to 2,500 words long. We could not handle that. So do not copy and paste your long description into your short description. Make sure you're always editing the long description to be longer. But for both fields, I'm going to change small green ceramic bowl to small green ceramic bowl handmade, just so I can make sure that the words I'm trying to rank for are still being used. So one thing we want to avoid is it could be tempting to use the word small green ceramic bowl handmade over and over and over again to get that keyword into this content as many times as possible. That will actually be a red flag to Google. Remember what I was saying before, that the computer will sort of reward you for doing things that might be deceptive in some way, but Google will always outsmart you. You want to make sure that you're using your focus keyword in a way that is informative to the user and helpful. You don't want to be using your keyword in a way that is just trying to rank. The more you try to rank for a keyword without providing any value through your use of the keyword, the less likely you are to actually rank for that keyword. So in this case, the description we have right now is small green ceramic bowl handmade. This bowl measures 4 inches from rim to rim and 2 inches tall. So we could pad out this description with a little bit more information. For instance, if I was this vendor, what I might want to talk about is I could talk a little bit about the type of glaze I'm using on this product. And I'm just typing in these words because I don't actually have the answers right in front of me as to what type of glaze was being used. I might talk a little bit about what type of clay is it. So if you think about my sort of thought process here, is I'm thinking about all the questions that the customer might have, and I'm trying to answer them ahead of time in the description. Google loves that. Google loves knowing that you're answering questions that the customer is likely to ask along with their browsing of the product. Google will reward that compared to the other search results, which might not actually care about answering any types of questions. Another thing you have to think about as well is there's a wide variety of search terms that searchers will be using. So if you do use let's say you use a non-toxic glaze, include that inside your product description, because you'll still rank within My Community Made's search algorithm for that search result by including those keywords. You'll also be more likely to rank in Google's traffic as well. One thing I don't want you to do is to think that when you type in a focus keyword that you're sort of locking yourself into only ranking for that keyword. You still have to think of all the content you're editing as being data that Google is going to look at the entirety of. Google doesn't know what your focus keyword is and it doesn't care. This focus keyword is just a tool to make sure I'm ranking for the words I'm most interested in, but that doesn't mean that I can't rank for other words as well. One thing I might want to do is you can see that I just have the small green ceramic bowl handmade as a sentence here, and it's not an actual sentence, as in this would fail the reading test. It doesn't have, a subject, a verb, a noun. It's only got the title. So what I actually want to do here is I'm going to erase this period. I'm going to create a new line. I'm going to highlight this, and instead of being a paragraph, I'm going to make this a heading 3. So now this content, what it's actually telling Google is that the heading of the description is small green ceramic bowl handmade. The rest of this is sort of descriptive words about small green ceramic bowl handmade. Now you're probably wondering, why did I choose heading 3 and not heading 2? Well, that's because if I actually go to the ceramic bowl page and I look at the heading, see this is in H1. Okay, never mind. So I'm actually going to set this heading to H2 because this is a descriptive keyword that's similar to the title. I don't want it to be H1 because H1 is actually the title of the product, and you can see that we don't allow you to select H1. We start with H2. Now, one thing that you could also do is RankMath actually likes to see additional headings, so you might have a heading 3 here. You can see all of these just changed, so I'm going to change it back to paragraph. So I'm going to create a heading 3 here. And you can actually have other headings where you describe other things about your product. So I might say, how to clean. All right, and this is relevant for a lot of products. I can use these extra headings to sort of add more content. So I can describe here, the bowl is dishwasher safe. Yeah, and I'm providing more info. Google's happy. The length of my content will get longer, which makes it more likely to rank in Google as well. And I can also include a little bit of information about me, because you can see the vendor biography actually doesn't show up here. So you can go to your vendor info. I can go to my vendor biography. And I can copy this section here about the sort of the mindset behind the Science of Living store. And I can paste that right into my description. I don't want it to be a heading, but I am going to create a new heading. And I can call it, about the science of living. So this is the hardest part of SEO, sort of padding out the content in a way that's not spammy, in a way that's adding value to the customer. You have to think about it from a marketing perspective. All the content we're adding here, none of it is fluff. We're always trying to look for ways to add value to the customer. So for instance, I've described the product at the top of the page. The heading describes what I'm talking about in the paragraph. The next heading is answering a question or answering some more information that the customer might be interested in. The paragraph answers sort of what the heading is opening as far as a topic. And then my next heading is about the vendor that's selling the product and some information about the vendor. There's nothing in that is not useful information. None of it would be considered fluff, and that's important. And I've only used the focus keyword once. And that's okay, because the searcher or the person reading this content doesn't want to read a whole lot of fluff. There's nowhere else I can fit that focus keyword, then that's fine. Now you can see in the additional that it did ask me to use the focus keyword in subheadings. I did that once. It won't turn green because it actually doesn't see this field. This field is kind of obscured. This field is kind of obscured through the integration with RankMath purposefully, just to make sure that everything is secure on the back end. You can see the keyword density is 0. That's not true. I did actually use the keyword. And the image with alt text, what that's referring to is that this image here at the top of the page. If you were to click on this, you can see the alt text right here at the top. What alt text is this is the text that's loaded before the image loads. It helps tell Google and helps tell users, especially those who cannot see and are using screen readers, it tells them what the image is describing. So I have the alt text here as green ceramic bowl handmade. Coincidentally, that's my keyword. That's the perfect type of alt text. If your focus keyword is not descriptive, do not use that as the alt text, even though RankMath tells you to. Remember, you're always trying to describe, sort of provide value to the customer. Using an alt text that's not descriptive of the image just hurts users that rely on that alt text for useful information. If you want to use that focus keyword somewhere in your image fields, use it in the title. That's where it's appropriate. There's nothing wrong with using a non-descriptive title, but using a non-descriptive alt text can actually hurt your SEO ranking. And I'm going to click Set Featured Image. We're going to scroll back down. The URL is 58 characters long. We already have a green check mark there because the URL is working as expected. And link out to external resources. Other things you might want to add here is if I want to talk a little bit more about the pottery that I make, if I had a gallery that was off-site, that's a perfect external link. So I would just create another line here, and I would write, this actually might make sense more under the about part. I might write something like, please view my gallery here. And then I could actually highlight the word here, and I could make this a link. And I could paste my gallery link there, and users would know that if they click on that, it'll take me to my gallery. That's again relevant information because if they're interested in this artist's work, they might be interested in viewing that artist's previous work as well. So remember, we're always thinking of it as the perspective of what might be useful to the customer rather than just trying to stuff the keyword in as many places as possible. That's also part of the reason why RankMath has decided to put these fields under additional, because a lot of them are subjective. So you can think of it as the basic SEO is telling you things that you really should have. If you're not using your focus keyword in the beginning of the content or within the content, there's a problem with the focus keyword you've chosen, as well as if your content can't be at least 600 characters long, then there is 600 words long, then there's a problem with the focus keyword. There's a problem with the content that you're writing. You can think of the additional fields as being additional because they might not apply in all circumstances, and I really want to stress that point as much as I can. If you can't force your keyword density up to 1%, that's okay. Your focus keyword does not need to be used in 1% of your content if it wouldn't make sense. Readability, usefulness of content is more important than the keyword usage. Add internal links to your content. That's already being done by the vendor link, so we don't have to worry about that. And you get a green check mark for you haven't used this focus keyword before, which is great. One thing to keep in mind is that this is talking about My Community Made as a whole, so you can actually use this to know how unique your content is. When it says you haven't used this focus keyword before, the RankMath integration is actually talking about the entire My Community Made website, so that means you're the first person to have used this focus keyword on the My Community Made website. It's not actually talking about your individual account, so do with that information what you will. The next two tabs are related to title readability. You see the focus keyword is used at the beginning of the SEO title. So these fields are a little bit more subjective. I actually don't think they apply to e-commerce, but I'll describe them anyway. The next point is that your title doesn't contain a positive or negative sentiment word. That's okay. Again, we want to think about the value to the customer. We're providing no value to the customer if we change the title of our content and we called it the good. The good small green ceramic bowl. If I scroll back down, you'll see that it gives me a green check mark. Your title has a positive or negative sentiment. We can both agree that our title now has a positive or negative sentiment, but it's also lost some of its value as a title. If I read this as a searcher, this sounds scammy to me. We're better off without having a positive or negative spin on the product within the title. We want to sort of have a confidence in the content that we're writing, that the customer will assume it's a good product and that we don't need to write that in the title. This is mostly used in blogs. If I was writing a blog or writing some type of content that the user might be interested in reading, something like a blog entry or a news article, then yes, I might want to consider incorporating a positive or negative sentiment word just because it will rank higher. My title doesn't contain a power word. you can click on this here to see a list of power words. So you can see power words are described as new, free, your, how to. So you're welcome to scroll through this, but if it doesn't apply to your product, don't use them. So one thing that you could do with these power words, and I do see this actually at use on the website from time to time, is if it was applicable, I might add a little dash here and I might write free shipping if I offer free shipping. And now if I scroll back down, you'll see that my title contains one power word. If you offer free shipping, this might be a valuable thing to add to your title. If you don't offer free shipping, definitely don't include that. And my SEO title doesn't contain a number. That's fairly standard. This is mostly referring to listicles, you know, those articles that you see on social media that say top 10 reasons why, you know, XYZ. You don't need your SEO title to contain a number in order for your product to be clicked on. Like I was saying before, RankMath is a tool. It's designed for all website content. You don't want to take it too seriously. You don't want to do any of these lists if they don't make sense from the perspective of a customer trying to buy a product. And for content readability, some of these you don't have the option to apply. So we don't have a table of content to add to our content, which is, I don't think that is a problem. We don't plan on adding a table of contents. The table of contents would be a floating box that would show up when the user opens that page that would allow the user to quickly scroll down to various pieces of content. If your description is long enough to need a table of contents, there might be a problem with your description. Short and concise paragraphs, those are always good. The less text, the better. And adding a few images or videos might make the content more appealing. I agree with that. There is no way to actually add a image to this content by design. The description field has to be something that could be pulled by the Facebook ads. So if I were allowing you to add images into there, that would actually break the ability for the product feed on Facebook to load successfully. So to recap everything that we've gone over, we've used some free tools. We've used Google Trends to see how well keywords that we're interested in using are doing. We've checked how those keywords do over time to see if those trends are growing or if they're going down. We've also checked for, you know, smaller windows of time more recently to see if there's any trends that we could take advantage of that are growing, because we know that SEO takes time to go into effect. So if we're one of the first people to edit our products when a trend is on an upswing, then we can take advantage of that. We've also looked at Moz.com, which we've used to explore various different keywords related to ceramic bowls by using their keyword suggestions that they show in the bottom left, and by keeping track to our competitors that they're showing us in the bottom right, and paying attention to that all-important difficulty and monthly volume score to know how much organic search traffic we can expect from those words. We've also checked out our competitors to see what type of content that they're showing to make sure that we can compete with it. We're always happy when we see a page that doesn't have any real content and is mostly just a collection of products, because that means it's easy for us to compete with it. We've edited our snippet, which is the most important piece of SEO content on the page, and we've made sure that our socials are also up to date. We've added that focus keyword, and we've tracked each one of the basic SEO points to make sure that we're doing it. Not in this example, but we would have our content be 600 to 2,500 words long. We're making sure that we understand content is actually the long description, not the short description, but we still edited the short description to be useful as well. We've paid attention to various concepts such as the alt tag to make sure that we have an up-to-date alt tag that is descriptive. And we've made sure that all the content that we've written and all the links that we're adding are useful to the customer, and that we're not adding any information that could be considered spammy or untrue that Google could penalize us for. We've done our best to provide the customer as many answers to their potential questions as they could have. And if you followed each one of these steps, your product is probably going to do fairly well with organic search traffic, especially as it gets boosted by our free advertising program. If you do have any specific questions about SEO, or if you ever want me to take a look at your search engine optimization on your products, feel free to email us at support@mycommunitymade.com, which you can always find on our website. In fact, with the new website design, you can actually see the button is right on the home page now, so you don't have to go too far to find it. As always, be sure to subscribe so that you can follow us for future tutorials. We're going to be updating a lot of our videos as time goes on, as we change the tools that we use on the website. So it's good to stay up to date with all the functionality as we add it. If you want other tutorial videos, be sure to add those in the comments, and I will be sure to make them. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Goodbye.